Number 12, Tara Carlson says, a student recently shared a fear of hers, the idea of eternity, even if in heaven. I have to admit, I struggle with this as well. Any advice for me to comfort? I could give her any advice for me for comfort. I could give her from the Bible. All right. I'm going to show you guys my cat because I'm going to drink some coffee here. Just a second. That's Moxie. She's happy she has her chair. All right. So, your question, Tara Carlson. A little coffee break there. So the fear, as I understand it, Tara, and I hope I'm understanding it rightly. Sometimes it's hard to cram all your data into these little question spots on a live chat. As I understand it, your question is like, hey, Tara, I thought about living forever in heaven, and that freaks me out. Like, I don't know that I want to live forever in heaven. What if I get bored? What if it just gets tedious? What if it's too repetitive? What if so this is a fear that I think a lot of people have had, but I don't think it's a fear that we need to have. I think it's a wrong fear, and like a lot of fears are just wrong fears. We're afraid of things that don't make any sense. I used to be afraid of monsters under my bed when I was a kid, and the truth is those monsters were never going to hurt me. They were very nice. So how do you respond? Well, part of it I think is a misconception about heaven, and part of it might also be a misconception about living forever. We can be intimidated by living forever, but I think what we can do to talk about that misconception is talk about dying. See, because I've talked to people who go, I don't want to live forever. That sounds boring. But notice how they just keep on living every day. Right? Like they don't just like go and off themselves the next day. People don't want to die. Even people who commit suicide do not want to die. They just don't want their lives to be the way they are. You see, to them, the fear is not length of life, it's ultimately quality of life. What is life? Is life really worth living another day if it's like this? And the idea of heaven, to touch that misconception, is not harps and clouds like what you see in Warner Brothers cartoons from 30 years ago. Heaven is the presence of God, so tangibly present, so there, that you don't even need sunlight to light the place because his presence is there. God, who is joy and love and peace and righteousness and holiness and completion and satisfaction, that's all in him. He is so present with you that he lights the place. Revelation talks about this. We don't just sing songs all day long, as some people have that misconception that like heaven is just singing constantly. Actually, it seems as though heaven is more of a perfected heaven and earth connected experience. So at the end of Revelation, we have a description of heaven coming down, the New Jerusalem, the city coming down out of heaven onto earth. So heaven and earth touch, they meet. So there's a tangible physical aspect in eternity where like we have a new earth we're living on, and heaven is here on earth. So there's no separation between man and God. But there seem to be hills and rivers and trees and clouds and probably things like doing art and enjoying games with friends and going on trips and stuff like that. Like what I'm suggesting here is heaven is not a one-dimensional, boring experience, unending day after day. Rather, it's the blessings of earth compared with the blessings of heaven, with all of the curses and pains and sufferings removed, and the relationships are better and tighter than ever before. This is one reason why I think heaven doesn't include marriage. Because marriage, also, while it's beautiful, me and my wife have a wonderful marriage, it also implies a separation between us and everyone else. I have it with her, nobody else does. You know, not just the physical things, right? But the connection, the emotional connection of marriage. But I think in heaven, we're going to have such tight connections relationally with people that it'll be better than that. And so that there doesn't need to be something like marriage. And we're not going to procreate. So that too. I hope that helps, Tara. We devalue heaven, and then we get paranoid about a one-dimensional imagination of heaven. Heaven is going to be good.